The temperatures are dropping low and the carolers are calling it a night. With the stockings all hung and the lights they be strung, you can feel the magic of Christmas in the air. But, just because we've tucked the kids away for the evening does not mean us adults can't get a little bit naughty before Santa arrives. So let's turn this silent night into a drunken office party, because we are ready to have some fun. They say it is better to give than to receive, and it could not feel more true right now. Being able to share what is quite possibly one of my favorite games ever with all of you. And, even better, it is the perfect holiday game, literally taking place across the week of Christmas. I hope you all remember your 9th grade biology lessons, because we are about to take a deep dive into a science fiction body horror RPG, based on a novel written by an incredibly meticulous and obsessive pharmacologist, mixed with some early concepts that just did not make it into Final Fantasy VII. The worst foe lies within the self, and the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. This is Parasite Eve. Based on the 1995 novel by Hideaki Sena, it's meant to take place as a genre-bending sequel, and while the book and movie are both amazing and well worth a deep dive of their own, the game's relationship with them is loose at best, recycling ideas that did not make it into Final Fantasy VII. Many of those Golden Age Square games share a similar DNA, with concepts from Final Fantasy VII in New York, all ending up in Final Fantasy VIII, The Spirits Within, and as mentioned, Parasite Eve. And you can see this with Eve's resemblance to the witches, as Edea was also from the New York pitch. Many people remember these games more from the push than actually playing it. After the success of Final Fantasy VII, Square went hard on the promo art and demo discs, with Aya being right out in front with her now infamous concept art. And trust me, it worked. At least on some of us. This was the summer right after I had started drawing a certain someone, and to say that the boss bitch attitude transferred over just a little would be an understatement.
Hey, who's the blonde chick? She's kinda cute.
Someone you could probably learn a few things from.
Whatever, dork. Long as it's got some action, I'm in.
Oh, I promise it can deliver on that, once we get there. But first, let's set the scene. New York, 1997. The nightlife is busy as everyone gets in their final pre-holiday activities. A limo pulls up to Carnegie Hall for the Christmas Eve performance. Its occupants? Our protagonist, the 25-year-old rookie cop Aya Bray, out on a reluctant date with a young Leonardo DiCaprio lookalike.
Man, be nice to the dweeb. He's taken her to a concert, rented a tux, sprung for a limo, being all polite and shit like... Dudes treat her like a princess. I don't get to dress up like that. And I don't see a Christmas present anywhere.
Since you want to be a smartass, I've got something for you right here, and if it doesn't fit, I'd like to get my money back.
Hey, that's what's up. Was getting a bit tired of wearing my pajamas on camera.
It's more endearing and casual.
It's sloppy and makes it look like I don't shower. Plus, I do not work out every day to hide it under some baggy clothes. I want to show off the guns.
My guy, no one is looking at your biceps. Now can you please sit back down? You're blocking the screen. Incidentally, the guy's dad actually paid for everything, and Aya ain't even really interested. You look at the art and the manga, you just might get the impression she isn't into dudes.
And now you have my attention.
He even makes a big deal about how hard he had to beg, and she only gave in because of a sudden urge to see this opera that will make itself more clear very soon.
Bro, shut up, it's starting.
The overheads are lit as the cast takes the stage, ready to perform the fictional play La Mia Verite. From what I gather, it is a simple period romance about a young prince who falls in love with a maiden believed to be a witch, due to her many suitors that have all died mysteriously. His father, the king, understanding the dangers of simping, forbids his son from marrying the gold digger. But the heart wants what the heart wants. Also, look at those amazing breasts.
Oh, I'm looking, dude, trust me.
Funny thing, while the version sung in-game is done with a soundboard similar to Celeste's opera scene in Final Fantasy VI, there is a live recording under the name Se el mio amore sta vicino, aka If My Love Is Near. The smarties out there will recall the Final Fantasy VII connection and its own in-universe opera, Loveless, leading many people to believe that this right here came from that original concept, and is in fact that play. The performance itself starts out as well as one could for a MIDI, until our soloist notices Aya out in the audience, and that is when everything changes. Out of nowhere, members of the audience begin bursting into flames one by one, the singer gleefully watching as the stage ignites behind her.
Hey, I thought this was an opera, not a great white concert.
Very tasteful. The room clears quickly with very few escaping unharmed, and also Aya's date, who hid behind her like a bitch. Our protagonist is the opposite of this, ready to take charge, pulling her strap and immediately kicking the cuck boy out of the way so that she can shoot the flames, or possibly make an arrest. Aya rushes the stage, confronting the actress, who begins vaguely rambling about our cells beginning to awaken, but before we can even take that in, she begins attacking. By today's standards, this battle system is pretty crude, getting refined over the years into the modern slop action RPG style of Square games we get now. You got an ATB gauge. When it fills, you can target the enemies or perform another action. While it's filling, you do your best to dodge like a standard action title. Pretty simple. Halfway through the first battle, you learn the Cure spell. It may be an RPG, but it is also a horror game. Things move fast. Spells work the same as any other action, and the MP gauge is constantly filling, so taking advantage of that by healing during battle is going to help you a lot in the long run, trust me. Pumping roughly 6 shots into the singer, she decides to let us go with a warning, telling Aya that in time her powers will awaken, and that their bodies are communicating.
Ooh, kinky.
We then flash back to a scene of young Aya in the hospital. Random story, first time I played this was on a busted old school dial television. Thing could not display any of these scenes because of the lighting, but they don't get explained till way later in the game anyway, so didn't really matter. Mocking us like a child, Eve makes her escape, and so we pursue, heading backstage where we find a huge hole in the ground and follow her in.
I've made worse decisions when drinking.
Pro tip for you virgin players, you get the option to run back for a moment. If it's your first time playing, do it. The cops outside will give you stacks of ammo, giving you such a head start you will never have to worry about running out. And then they send you back in alone while bravely guarding the front entrance. Jumping down into the lower level, we don't have time to question why there is no staircase connecting this floor to the auditorium. We've got a ghost girl to deal with, but we've also got no time to question why she's down here. We've got a rat problem to deal with. And Ronnie the Rat is for real, treating us to one of the coolest FMVs from the age of FMVs actually being something you looked forward to. We see every detail of this monster's transformation down to the cellular level in all its disgustingly beautiful detail. And then we walk up and shoot him. Look, I'm not gonna pretend this is a hard game, but I've also played it about 1 billion times. Know where everything is, know how to cheat the stats a bit. So to spice things up, this is also an itemless run. These first few areas are very small, like slices of an early Resident Evil, and we soon find the theater key along with a phone to save, which I am not going to use for a reason I will explain later. Using the key, we gain entrance to the singer's dressing room, along with her diary.
Ooh, let me see. I want to know who she's sleeping with. Maybe one of the grips or the best boy, or maybe she's gripping the best boy.
My guy, she's sick. It's a serious thing. She probably has AIDS. We actually get more details on the singer's medical conditions later on. However, the simple explanation is that she needs immunosuppressants due to a childhood medical procedure, and has been taking them in increased doses leading up to the concert. Also, the original lead magically combusted into flames recently, so that's how our singer, Melissa, got her role. What fortuitous luck.
Yeah, if you're related to the Clintons.
Using another key found within the diary, we are now able to access the rehearsal room and find Melissa practicing on the piano, now wishing to be referred to as Eve. Slamming her palms into the keyboard, we are treated to another amazing TF scene that we actually referenced in comic. And again, I miss when these FMVs actually mattered to the story and production, and were not just glorified tech demos. Eve is on the attack, but if you get aggressive as well, it becomes a very easy match, making her beam attack unable to hit you, and you can easily heal from her melee damage. Having easily defeated Eve a second time, she again decides to be nice and lets us go, explaining that we will not be ready to face her for really real until our mitochondria awakens, slipping away as Aya trips out, having another flashback. Snapping back to reality, we are in pursuit once again, following Eve down yet another hole, and this time into the sewers. There's very little of note to say about this small area, other than it's a good time to get used to looking for hidden rooms, many of which are simply obscured by the camera angle, and hold some of the best equipment along with weapon and ammo upgrades. And since I'm not using healing items, we can ditch them in order to make room for these, to save for later when building our main weapon. Once more we confront Eve. Aya has questions, Eve wants to be mysterious. We're at an impasse, but she's also got things to do and doesn't feel like having another sparring match, instead sending one of her larger pets to deal with us.
Kick-ass design. I am legit loving every monster you come across in this game.
And they keep getting better, but for now this guy is a two-parter, starting with you needing to focus on the tail in Phase 1. Most of his attacks can be dodged by keeping your distance and constantly moving to his side in a circle. A fairly simple first boss, he'll go down in just a few shots. The monsters all removed, we head topside for some rest when we are accosted by a journalist, aka a cockroach, being an antagonistic scumbag as one would expect. Thankfully, Aya's partner Daniel shows up to help set the young man straight.
Hey, cool dude.
He's kinda great, has some dumb moments but almost feels like a father figure towards our lead, basically training his own replacement. He tries some small talk to comfort his partner on the ride home, dropping a joke line about her date fleeing but in fact surviving, although Aya is too lost in thought, and drifts off as our first night comes to an end. The game will take place over 6 days, or phases, most of them fairly short up until the end. This is also the reason I'm avoiding save points. BP is similar to experience being built up over battles in the background, and rewarded at level up, for purchasing stat increases. This could also be used to upgrade weapons and armor, but I usually dump it all into the active time gauge, that way Aya never has to wait in battle. By not saving during the main game, you are also given a nice bonus at the end of each phase, allowing you to stack those points up much faster. This also allows you to do some pretty insane stuff in your second playthrough, but we'll get there later. Day 2, Aya is back at her precinct, attempting to explain the previous night's events as best as one could given the circumstances, and all of her colleagues are just as lost. They don't even know what a mitochondria is.
Neither do I, but going by the name, she sounds kinda hot.
You're gonna learn real soon, but for now we meet with Captain Baker, who is just as clueless as everyone else and decides the best tool needed for the investigation is a bigger gun. And so we head downstairs to the armory and meet up with Wayne and Torres, the cutest gay couple ever. Real summer-winter thing going on. Wayne loves guns. They make cool bang-bang noises. Torres hates guns, cause he's an irresponsible person who lost his daughter when he let her play with one and now blames an inanimate object for his own blatant stupidity. Don't worry, that one will take care of itself, cause this game loves guns. It also doesn't know how they work, which is kind of adorable. Using that RPG upgrade system, we can randomly move stats and abilities across weapons and armor, using tools, while expanding and enhancing our slots with mod permits and collectible Pokemon cards. The monster weapons you can create in this game are ridiculous. You like the rifle but want it to fire like an Uzi? Transfer the skill over. And while you're there, give the rifle bullets spread like a shotgun, and then lace the pellets with acid and cyanide. This is all by design for the aftergame, and the Final Fantasy-esque Ultima gun you will eventually create. Upstairs we run into Ben, cool little dude, and the son of Daniel. Don't worry guys, he actually does matter to the story. It's Christmas, he wants to see his dad. They were supposed to go to a concert that day with some mystery singer. The main point being, this was a way to get both of his divorced parents together in the same place. But the job comes first, and so dejected, Ben runs off on his own into the streets of New York like Kevin McAllister. However, we have a press conference to attend.
And since we are tight on time, let's just say Aya fucks it up, going off script and repeating Eve's mitochondria rant. And so now the press thinks she's talking about aliens using space lasers to explode people, and it's CNN, so they just run with it.
The museum. This place will be awesome later, but for now we are here to get some information from Dr. Clamp. He's a dick. We are in for a very long and boring biology lecture, with no music, and since it's a 90s JRPG, some very inaccurate information. The main takeaway is that the mitochondria supplies energy to the nucleus, along with a few other functions like calcium storage and heat production. And this is a backdoor explanation to how so much energy and heat can be produced by the body to combust a person. Now, the idea that the mitochondria, or anything, can evolve faster than anything else is complete BS regardless of metabolism. And I don't think any of you need me to explain why the telepathy part, or being able to turn rats into monsters, is also complete make-believe. However, mDNA is actually passed along down the mother's side of the family, and a connected lineage to a Mitochondria Eve is very true if we look at it from a very narrow perspective.
That's cool, dork, but can we get back to the freaking game?
Did you know that the mitochondria is capable of discharging 200 volts of electricity?
Dude, no one cares and we need to get moving.
Haha, you two have absolutely no idea what the true power of the mitochondria is like, do you?
Shut up, nerd. I'm gonna take over for a second to keep us moving. Long story short, it turns out Melissa, Eve, was in fact scheduled to perform that Christmas Day concert mentioned earlier. And despite these guys being the police, they have zero authority when it comes to shutting down a small concert when there are legitimate threats of danger. Keep that in mind for later. And Daniel here, remembering he's a father, disobeys orders with Aya joining him as they race towards the concert hall.
Arriving at Central Park, Daniel leads the charge but is stopped at the gates when he begins to catch fire, which is terrible news for the concert goers, but excellent news if you are tired of dealing with crackheads on your morning jog. Regardless, we at least know we're at the right place. Aya, being immune to the magical flame explodey powers, volunteers to go in alone. Random aside, in this park you are going to encounter a lot of crows, and crows drop junk. If you only plan on playing through the normal game casually, ignore it, worthless item. But if you are interested in the post-game challenges, then it couldn't hurt to get an early start by collecting some now. You will need a lot. We arrive casually late, with Eve already mid-villain monologuing to a packed house. Using her magical Mito powers, she once again heats up the audience, this time melting them down into a singular mass of congealed flesh. Heading backstage, we confront her once more, but she instantly takes flight, running off as we attempt to chase her down across the park, eventually being met with a lovely surprise carriage ride.
Oh, come on, dude. 2 dates in a row? How popular is this girl?
That burning passion turns into burning horses when Eve combusts them, setting our carriage racing out of control as we have another 1v1 with her. It's an easy matchup despite the tight space. Thing is, she is coming at us very hard, really going for the throat. But once the smoke clears and the stagecoach crashes, knocking Aya unconscious, Eve just leaves. When she could have won right there. No more hero. The mitochondria takes over the planet. Aya may be out of commission, but in a fortunate stroke of luck, Ben did in fact get out of the park early and meets up with his father outside of the gates. The little guy is a bit confused about what happened, but he could tell something was wrong with everyone, and going with his gut got the hell out of the danger zone very fast.
Smart kid.
I really hope everyone remembers she said that. In the meantime, what is not smart is the writing, because now that the threat of Eve has been confirmed, the police have suddenly gone from having less power than a security guard at Walmart to National Guard emergency status, forcing a full evacuation of the entire island, locking it down. At the same time, over in Soho, a lone scientist from the far-off mystical land of Japan is trying to sneak in during the panic, taking advantage of some momentarily distracted officers when one of their squad mates randomly bursts into flames. At the same time, Aya is having nightmares about the hospital again, which will tell us absolutely nothing, but she does wake up to find herself safe in a crack den that probably rents for about $3K a month in the current market. Turns out our mystery man found her and brought her back to the apartment safe and sound without groping her whatsoever. He totes swears, bro.
We've all seen Akibara Cam. Also, kind of funny Daniel bursts in like it's to catch a predator.
Oh, he's a bit of a creeper. But right now, his goal is to help us figure out the Eve situation. Coming here the second he heard the news, which does not math. It's been maybe 12 hours since the news broke, and he came here straight from Japan. I'm no cartographer, but I'm pretty sure the drive from Japan to New York might take a bit longer than that. Sarcasm aside, he believes this is a repeat of an event from several years ago, and begins to give us the Cliff Notes breakdown of the book, which I kind of like, because he keeps it short, relevant, and does not spoil the tone of the movie. You have an aspiring young doctor who falls in love with a classmate while attending university. A few years go by, they are happily married, and he is a respected professional in his field. Good times. But one day his wife is involved in a very random and tragic car accident. Unable to fully let go, he decides to let her live on in his work, using her liver cells for research. These experiments cause the mitochondria to evolve at an increased rate, becoming conscious, and then able to communicate with him telepathically.
I'm sorry, what the shit?
She then amalgamates a bunch of random flesh that's laying around to create a body that mimics his dead wife so that she can seduce him and get his sperm, using it to impregnate a teen girl who goes into labor instantly, birthing the ultimate being.
Okay, I'm out.
The newborn ultimate being goes from baby to toddler to man almost instantly, but in a cruel twist of faith, his father had bad sperm, and so the ultimate being melts into goo.
I'm sorry, the villain from the book was defeated by rotten sperm. Are you fucking serious?
Day 3. Skipping ahead, Maid has questions, wants to test a few things, needs a lab. And since Clamp has a lab and should be evacuated at this point, we break into his without a warrant and start playing with all the expensive equipment. Testing some Eve cells on Aya's blood, along with his own as a control, he discovers in a weird coincidence that Aya's mitochondria has begun to mutate in its own way, supplying a massive amounts of ATP energy to her nucleus to use as a force field against the evasive mitochondria of Eve's. That's all nice and good, but before they can really formulate what to do with that information, Dr. Clamp shows up to run his fucking mouth. Something about illegal search and seizure, but at this point I'm waiting for him to get tased.
You ever been pepper sprayed? Not fun. They should use that. Clamp sucks. We just know he's got something to do with the current situation, and Aya's pretty sure he's the doctor she keeps seeing in her flashbacks. Plus, need we bring up the Final Fantasy VII connection again? This dude is basically Hojo. He's even got all of this medical information from random organ donors posted up on his PC, with Daniel's kid and ex-wife's name right up on the top. So of course he's pissed, and rightfully so. But before we get some sweet police on civilian assault, Aya has to remind him that we're the good guys. So we can't kill him until at least Act 3.
Arriving back at the station, the place is trashed, with Eve being the assumed culprit. But since she doesn't have her flame shield spell active, Daniel decides to run in ahead of us in order to find his son. Maid, being a twig boy who knows his limits, decides to hang back but wishes us the best of luck, and even gives us a useless charm that does nothing but waste an item slot, cause he's a prankster. In the basement, we find Wayne crying over his wounded lover. It would seem Torres was attacked and got a little trigger shy in the moment. It happens to a lot of older guys, try Blue Chew. We ain't got time to mourn. And Wayne takes charge, giving us Torres's old gun as a memento that we can use.
Wait. This gun is the same one that he hasn't used in several years or cleaned, so will most likely explode in our hands the second we go to use it. And it's also the same gun that his daughter used to accidentally bang herself. In what kind of sick, twisted world would I want to hold on to that as a trophy? And why was he even holding on to it in the first place?
Checking in on the kennel, we learn Ben and Shiva the shepherd are both missing. They're best buds, I should have mentioned that earlier. Regardless, this is really bad news because all of the monsters running around were once the station's dogs, so we quickly bolt upstairs to find them. On the way there, there's this little hidden away room you can access with an optional mini-boss. He's basically the one who got Torres, so it feels good to get your revenge. This is also a good time to see if you're underleveled, and trust me, I was way underleveled. And while we managed to skate by and keep this semi-speed run going, there's nothing wrong with taking a moment to grind if you ever feel the need. In fact, if this is your first playthrough, I recommend it.
TLDR, there is a limited number of fights in this game. Kinda. Anytime you enter a new room, 100% chance you're getting attacked, but it drops every time after that, to the point that it just ain't worth the hassle of loading into a room 30 times. And some areas change after you leave, so if you miss the experience now, you can't really go back and get it later.
While we've been digging around, Ben was trying to help Shiva upstairs. Good kid, not that smart. Thankfully, Captain Baker arrives in time to rescue the naive young boy. And I can't help but wonder why he decides to run off to the opposite corner of the room, trapping them both inside, when he could have just turned around and left out the door he came through. Without warning, Shiva starts doing her best impression of the Thing from another planet, turning into that Cerberus summon from Final Fantasy VIII, Shared Universe. Again, love the art direction for these FMVs, and it's a great boss fight despite the lack of room. You got 3 heads working in tandem. One heals, the other 2 do different attacks. Think you get it. This one is all about speed. You should have haste by now, so use it, cause you're gonna want that extra buffer for healing.
And don't get suckered in by PE Barrier. It's a trap. Looks like it's going to be your standard protect spell, but what it actually does is temporarily absorb damage into your MP gauge, so a big hit can leave you with low health and no way to heal. Worst spell in the fucking game.
Having sent all dogs to heaven, we check in on our brave little men, and Baker is actually doing pretty okay despite being injured. I can't really tell, it's PS1 graphics. The important thing is, Ben is safe. And so Daniel comes running in out of nowhere, embracing his child.
The Father of the Year. My guy, did you get lost on the way? Maybe sneak out for a cigarette or something?
The important thing is, everyone is safe, except for Torres. Everyone I care about is safe. And Daniel is very grateful. He and Baker used to be best buds. But one decided to become the stereotypical disgruntled captain who has the mayor on his ass, and the other ended up being the aging detective who's too old for this shit. I get it. People do age apart, and in time it becomes harder to sneak in a face-to-face with your friends, especially when they have families now of their own to take care of. But that is what this time of year is for, and while we may not always be able to physically see those friends and loved ones, we can still hold them in our hearts this holiday season.
And as far as this holiday party goes, we are far from over with 3 more chapters left in this holiday classic. Will Aya's mitochondria ever awaken? And who really is Dr. Clamp, and what happened in that hospital so many years ago? What is Eve planning, and why is she stealing everyone's sperm? These questions and more will be answered, especially the sperm thing, because what the fuck is that about anyway? Find out how the bitch stole Christmas when we wrap this present up in part 2. As always, thank you to all those lovely, amazing, jolly, and also wonderful people out there watching. Thank you to everyone grabbing up our adopts, and if we don't see you, then have yourself a merry little Christmas.